What's going on, everyone? It's Joe from Gadgetry Tech, and today's video is going to be an exciting one, genuinely, for a few reasons. One, this is a budget headset that frankly does not sound or perform budget in any way. You're going to learn more about this later in the review, but I want to say that early so people don't tune out for this. This is only $70. It's the R5 Pro HS, and it's made by Rig. It is a basic wired analog headset. It doesn't come with a DAC. It doesn't come with USB support. It's just a 3.5 millimeter TRRS connection that will plug into controllers, computers, laptops, you name it, anything with a headphone jack. Now, what makes this special is regardless of the price, it does not sound anywhere close to what the price suggests. I was working on this review and I assumed this was a higher end model because the way it performed. I was comparing it to much more expensive headsets. Then they told me it was $70. Now, in addition to what I think is going to be a great value in this space, there's another reason why I'm excited about this headset, and that's because almost, I'd say 8 months ago or so, they reached out to me for prototype testing and development and feedback for tuning this headset in advance. This is a pile of prototypes. There's a high-end model coming out later next year as well, so this is kind of the beginning of a new philosophy from Rig. But I'm really excited because I don't know who else they reached out to, but the fact that they were getting feedback from people so early in the review process or the building and prototype process is huge, because that's a very different approach than what most brands do. Although I can't explain all of the things that led to this moment and cover the specifics of the prototypes, this kind of just backs up what I'm talking about. It's not just a trust me bro thing. I've been playing and testing these for quite a long time on the side. So that's kind of enough of the past. Let's talk about more of the now, and again, why this is kind of exciting. So you're going to see PlayStation licensing and branding on the box. You'll see a PlayStation logo on the cup itself. I want to cover this in a few areas. So one, at launch, this is available exclusively at Best Buy. I'll eventually have purchase links in the description below, but I don't do any affiliate links with this. It's just going to be a standard Best Buy link to help you find it. The logo is purely from licensing and not only compatibility concerns. Basically, this uses the 3.5 millimeter connection, so you can plug it into an Xbox controller just as easily as a PlayStation controller, PC, tablet, Switch, PlayStation Portal, you name it. If it has a 3.5 connection, you can plug it in. It's a TRRS one, so the microphone is in line with this plug. There's no splitter in the box, unfortunately, but the fact that this is a budget headset, that's kind of expected in this price range because you don't usually get breakout cables anything close to this price. Now, let's say you have an Xbox and you like what I'm going to be saying about the sound quality in a little bit, but you don't want to see the PlayStation branding. Well, there are some really cool things about this. One, you can just remove the cup. These are magnetically attached, and you know what that means. You'll get to customize your speaker tags, if you will, or the outer plates. So I actually like the logo design of this without any cup personally. This is kind of how I've been using it because I think it looks so cool and unique. However, you can obviously add your own and customize it. If you're familiar with this kind of design, it does remind me of the Sony headphones. This is the MDR M1, and I think the 7506 is even more like this, but I like this look. It's not like a total knockoff or anything, but you know, it's a classy look that I think doesn't look too cheap, especially considering the price. So when you get into these are removable plate covers that I was talking about earlier. This one just says Rig on it, so if you want a cover, but you don't want to see PlayStation branding on it because you're an Xbox diehard, well, now you can just basically put that on and have the wonderful little Rig logo. They also will be doing licensing plays with esports teams and who knows what else down the road. So this is from the esports team Power, or PWR, Lachlan Power. He's a Fortnite content creator in Australia, among other things. I don't know everything that person makes. The design is obviously, it's easily swappable. You don't have to necessarily know the clan, but at least, or the team, but you can see the impact it has on looks. Now, if you're a DIY person, you're probably wondering about making your own. And I am pleased to say that soon after releasing this video, or at the time of releasing this video, I'm gonna have a link in the description for the official STL file if you are a 3D printer enthusiast and you wanna make your own. This is my first attempt. I did a terrible job printing this, so it's nothing that I can keep. You can see these wonderful little lines on top because I decided to use a preset with silk. I usually print with PLA or PETG. So I tried something unique. It didn't quite go so well, but you can see the rough idea of this. Once you get the magnet kits, which again, there'll be specs on which magnets to buy. You basically glue the magnets in, and then you can kind of print and design your own. There's a lot of potential with this. Or you can just buy these plates if you want it already printed and start spraying it if you want to just print, colorize your own itself. And in terms of the chassis itself, Microphone is not removable. It's flip to mute, however, and the boom is quite long. The microphone has like a built-in windscreen on it, so it has like a 6mm capsule, and we'll do the mic test shortly. Very, very flexible, and it's long enough to basically allow you to put it in the right spot. I'll get into comfort here in a sec, because I'll talk about the sizing. But if you place it up here, you could still talk just fine, and it's out of the way, so you're not as subject to like plosives or air coming out of your mouth. Down here is going to give you the sweet spot. You'll get more proximity effect if you want the warmth, but just be careful of breathing heavy. And then again, flip to mute. A little bit of a notch right here. And you can see that spot once it flips over, I'm in the mute position. Okay, so let's make some space and get into comfort and design. This uses sport fabric everything. Everything that touches your skin is a breathable sport fabric, and it's also durable. And there's memory foam in the headband. This is very lightweight. It weighs only 268 grams. And the pads are quite large as well. You have 62mm of height on the pad, 40mm of width, and 24mm of depth. It has symmetrical depth front and back. Now, another cool thing about these pads, and they're going to use this pad design on their future models, they are magnetically attached. And look how thin that cup design is. It's basically a housing design for the driver. You can even see the base port here that they use for tuning. And it just magnetically attaches again. The cable is not removable. I'm not super excited about that, but you know, you can't have every single thing at this price, and at least they're using a TPU sleeve. This is not a microphonic cable, meaning that if you're wearing this, if you had a fabric cable, it's gonna rub against your shirt and you'll hear kind of that noise. It's a bigger issue with closed back headsets and headphones, but because this is rubber, you don't really have an issue there. Clamp force is quite strong with this. In terms of comfort, I think the most comfortable headset I've tried under $100 now is the new Turtle Beach Atlas 200, because it uses the Airs frame. And aside from the pads being slightly short, I wish they were just a few millimeters taller. It's super lightweight and the clamp is crazy light. So they kind of float on your head. Thankfully, because these pads are really plush, like memory foam pads, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. It's definitely secure on my head. I get a very consistent seal, but because they have a breathable fabric and they're lightweight, I can still wear this for a very long time. I just want to point out a couple of the minor issues that you might have in terms of comfort, and I think the clamp force is the only real cause for concern. One more note on the cable, I do want to cover the volume slider. So because it's flipped to mute, there's no mute button on the volume cable itself, or like in line with the wire. Instead, you just get this little slider here. It should come maxed out, and if it doesn't, you can basically push it up because there's a little bit of a click here. So you would think you're maxed out with volume, and you can kind of see there's a stopping point, and then you push it, it doesn't really go. You kind of push down and then it clicks up, and it gets noticeably louder, like 20 or 30% louder in that position. The reason why they added this little click feature is because a lot of people kind of set this to max and then use their source to adjust volume, like the PlayStation's controller volume output. You would adjust your volume through there if you don't want to deal with this. So they have a little locking tension here to make sure it doesn't just slide down rubbing against your shirt, and then you're trying to figure out why it's not as loud as you remember it. The only other concern I have is this particular mechanism. I haven't really been a huge fan of slider volume switches in the past because sometimes they fail and you get like static when you have volume adjustment. So in my opinion, what I would suggest doing is maxing this out. Honestly, just never touch it again unless you have to, and then use your source to control the volume instead. I think that's a better chance of not having any other issues with this, because historically the chassis of Rig headphones have been very durable, and that's no concern here. You can see that it has quite a bit of distortion on the headband. I can twist it quite a bit, and the articulation is great. I mean, honestly, they really got the comfort quite nice for this, and it's going to fit a huge variety of heads. The fact that you can shrink it and make it this small, and then telescope the yokes that far. Everything is plastic. There's no use of metal on the less expensive model. That's part of why they kept the weight down. But having this much articulation, comfort, etc., it's all good things to see regardless of price, but even better to see at $70.
The microphone performance of the R5 Pro HS is actually really good as well. Part of this is the benefit of having an analog cable because I effectively have unlimited bandwidth. I'm not dealing with wireless compression or codec issues or anything like that. So naturally, this is basically as good as this microphone can sound. So just to qualify this a little bit, you're hearing a pure recording directly into my MacBook Pro with no video editing or post-production changes on the microphone itself. This is literally as pure as it gets. If you are connected to a PlayStation controller or an Xbox controller, it's going to add a little bit of compression to that, so you might not sound the same to your friends if you're using a wireless controller, but this does show the potential of this mic if you're able to take advantage of an analog connection, and I think it sounds really good. Obviously, there's some plosives in my voice, so again, if you want to deal with this, just lift this up a little bit. It's going to make it sound slightly more nasally. You don't have the same warmth because it's further away from my mouth, but if you're a heavy breather and you're speaking really loud, this is not the normal level of volume that I speak at. So if I talk kind of, more quietly, I guess, and more normally, like I would be talking to my friends, it's going to sound a little bit better and I'll have less air shooting out of my mouth. So just keep in mind mic position can make a big difference on your sound and the plosives performance.
So moving on to objective measurements, which is the science behind the sound, if you will, and it's how my ear simulator hears this headset, and I've measured hundreds of other headsets and headphones that you can compare, so I'll have a link in the description below. Every simulator rig hears differently, so I always want to say that with every video because don't compare my measurements to someone else's. They probably have a different ear simulator. So having said all that, the frequency response of this headset is incredible. It has a decent amount of bass to it. There's a lot of sub bass to it. It has a wonderful mid-range tuning, and the treble's a little bit sparkly. So the only cause for contention here that might be an issue for some people, depending on your hearing and your ear shape or ear canal, is this area here, right about 6,400 hertz. So you might find it sounds a little bit sparkly or shimmery in that area, or sometimes you get the subtlest snappiness to the treble. And if you hear it and it's causing some fatigue, either do custom EQ and reduce 6,000 hertz by a little, or if you're using the Dolby Atmos app on PC or Xbox, for example, take the 8 kilohertz band down by 2 or 3, and it's pretty much money. Normally, I'm more sensitive to this area, but it wasn't the case with this headset. And even without doing any EQ, I found that I can enjoy it for music and gaming. In addition to having good frequency response, you will notice that the channel matching, the left and right measurement are almost identical, which is going to make imaging performance absolutely incredible on this headset. And this is an average of multiple seatings. I move the headset around, I take it off the rig, put it back on. So you're getting on average at least 3 to 5 measurements per side, and the average pulls it almost identical to each other. It's rare that you get this kind of channel matching, even on like $300 and $500 headphones, headsets, you name it. So to do this on a budget gaming headset, it's pretty exceptional. So now I want to show you the FIO FT1's measurements compared to this and why this is going to be such a big deal. Look how similar the frequency response is of a gaming headset that is less than half the price of the FIO FT1, which is widely considered one of the best passive analog closed back headphones you can get. Like literally just plug in a pair of closed back cans. Regardless of price, the FIO FT1 is just an exceptional value. So this is a very close showing in frequency response. The FIO FT1 has a little bit better definition on the super low frequencies, like below 30 hertz, a little bit more emphasis. It comes across as a slightly deeper headphone, whereas the R5 Spear, if you will, has a little bit more forward mid bass. It's just a tad warmer. It's going to sound a little bit thicker, but extremely subtle. Comparing the mid-range and treble to the FT1, which again is considered like one of the best values in the closed back space, this is incredibly close. Like the frequency response tuning is close enough to a lot of people that they won't hear the difference between them. And this is less than half the price, and they gave you a mic. So this is a pretty exceptional showing. This peak at 6,000 hertz is going to be the biggest maybe an issue area. Normally I'm more susceptible to this area, and mainly at 8,000 hertz for me. But for some reason, this 6K peak doesn't come across as strong as my rig suggests. So I've been able to really enjoy this, and I find a very little difference to something like the legendary FT1, which is more than double the price of this and considered one of the best in its price. Okay, so moving on to the subjective side of things and what my gaming experience was, I want to actually touch on the music part first because this is the most noticeable thing and it does translate into gaming. That is the exceptionally low distortion and handling characteristics of this headset. So this is a graphene coated Mylar driver. I usually don't touch on driver materials and specs because that doesn't guarantee anything. In theory, better materials will perform better, but if it's tuned poorly, well, what good is that? So obviously we've said the tuning is good. You know, I've showed the measurements and as you'll hear on my subjective side of things as well. But the most noticeable thing, when you listen to this, then you listen to most sub $150 gaming headsets, some gaming headsets that are approaching $200, this destroys a lot of them. It's noticeably more clear. There's less distortion. I feel like I'm listening to a much more expensive product. If you just blind put this on your head and listen to it, and then you picked out another headset, let's say for $100, it's shocking what they pulled off with this. Honestly, like, I don't normally like budget closebacks because of the characteristics that a closeback has on the sound quality. I prefer open backs, but the advantage of a closeback is you get good noise isolation and really strong, powerful bass. This just delivers it in spades, and it's crystal clear, and it just seems like it's more of an effortless presentation of what you're trying to listen to. This does translate into gaming performance as well, and whilst different sound signatures might have a more favorable alignment with how that game sounds, this is so versatile because this sub bass, while really strong, because it's so clear and it doesn't have any distortion issues, I can still easily just pick this up, plug it in, play Call of Duty, play Apex, and I'm good to go. Even on Apex, the imaging performance and the clarity, I didn't even feel like I wanted to touch EQ because it seriously sounds exceptional. I like this more than a lot of $200 gaming headsets that have wireless and DSP capabilities where you can do your own custom EQ. Even without EQ, this is just seriously a mind-blowing performance of a headset. So why not bring out some legends and future legends and make some comparisons here. This is the new Turtle Beach Atlas 200. I think this is the most comparable or competitive headset under 100 to the Rig. This guy's the Xtrfy H1, and with massive price cuts, it's now in like the $70 to $80 range. The Xtrfy H1 is really fun because the pads are crazy thick and squishy, and it's very, very comfortable to wear. It has more sound isolation because of the leather pads or leatherette pads, but one that can break down over time. This is tuned to have really strong sub bass and a more sparkly treble. It's more V-shaped sounding, and I don't find that I get the same mid-range detail performance that I get with either of these guys. The Atlas 200 has the edge in comfort to me. If the pads were a few millimeters taller, I could just, seriously, I'd wear this for hours, and it's like it's not even on your head. Extremely lightweight. The microphone's great. I think the flip to mute mechanism's awesome. No detachable cable either, but it's just really comfy. This has a similar mid-range tuning performance. It's honestly very close to this in the mid-range. Slightly different bass profile because the Rig just comes in strong on the sub bass, whereas the Atlas 200 kind of tapers off a little bit. This is a great performer in FPS gaming as well and immersive gaming, but purely on the immersive side, I do give the Rig the edge just because the sub bass is stronger, and to me that pulls you into the game more. Explosions have more of a rumble effect to it. While the differences aren't as drastic on the gaming side, it is more noticeable on the music side that the graphene coated drivers to me just have a little bit better power handling. So if you listen to EDM, hip hop, jazz, or anything that has like a stronger deep bass, you're going to notice that performance difference even more on the Rig, in addition to just having a good mid-range tuning as it is. What gets crazy is I started comparing it to more expensive headsets to kind of find like where's the threshold where this just gets outgunned. The GSP 600, 601 from EPOS, this is like straight out of Cyberpunk. Crazy strong clamp force. My God, it squeezes your head, and it has adjustable clamp force on top, which is cool, but it goes from like extremely tight to slightly less extremely tight. So it's not going to be for everybody. The tuning on this is thunderous deep bass. It's too much bass if you were a first-person shooter type player. The microphone and build quality is exceptional. This is kind of like immersive done right at the, I guess, trade-off of the detail retrieval in the mids and positional cues if you're going for more of a competitive sound signature. So it's still a really fun headset if you can get your hands on one. I already talked about the H1. There's really not much to add to this. I think this is loaded with more features and accessories for a comparable price. You know, this is going for just under $80 at the time of filming this, and it has swappable microphones. It has like a USB DAC option that's included. You have a breakout cable included. So there's a lot of really nice things I like about the H1. It would come across as a better value when you look at the specs and what's included, but when you actually listen to it, I think the Rig is just a better performer in the sound department, and I would prefer to wear the Rig for longer gaming sessions just because it's more breathable. Then you get in the kings of analog performance under $200. On the gaming side, you have the Drop PC38X, which overall does have the edge over the EPOS H6 Pro. I didn't bring that one out because I ran out of table space. The H6 Pro has lesser sound quality tuning. I think the Drop PC38X is tuned better, and it sounds better, but the clamp force is rather high on this, and it's not helped by the fact that the ear pads themselves are a little bit less squishy. So to me, I couldn't wear these as long. The geometry of this particular headset puts pressure on my head in a weird way, And while I love it initially, for some reason, it just doesn't work for me for a long gaming session, which is why I've advocated for the H6 Pro so much. Trade-off of sound, but more comfort. This has a very neutral, clean bass response. It's not overly engaging and exciting on the bass, so if you're craving the immersive side of things, again, the Rig R5 is so much more in-depth on the bass side of things that I feel like it sucks you in a lot better. But this is a nice, clean listen, and the bass you do get is fantastic for the price. It is a great performer for the music side of things with a mic. And the fact that it's an open back is nice because, again, it's really breathable, and I think vocals sound the most natural on this headphone over everything here. The FIO FT1, I made some brief comparisons on the objective side. This is like the pinnacle of value on the closed-back analog headphone space, and it's $170-ish, I think, at the time of filming this. There is a very little improvement of this over that. That's half the price, and it gives you a mic. So while I think this is still a better performer on the music side of things, purely for gaming, absolutely almost zero difference in performance. They're neck and neck. And then the fact that you're getting a mic for a lower price, I think that highlights really what level this headset's playing at. Okay, so that wraps up the review of the Rig R5 Pro HS. And there's going to be a couple things I want to call out here. So for one, because I was involved with the sound signature tuning side, I think it's fair to say that if it's close to what I was providing for feedback, I'm naturally going to like the sound signature. So I'm going to call that out because I never want to hide anything, and I don't want you to think I have a bias either. I am not using any affiliate or marketing links in this. They didn't pay me to make this video. It's not sponsored in any way. It's just my honest feedback. I got involved because I'm passionate about this industry, and I love the fact that Rig is soliciting feedback from other creators and audio people alike to try to make a product that appeals to as many people as possible. Having said all that, for what they're offering for $70 from the microphone performance that you heard, what I think is a very acceptable build quality and comfort, and the sound quality is just absurd for what you're paying for. I think regardless of your budget, if you are just looking for a secondary headset that's on the less expensive side because you don't always want to use your big heavy product, maybe you want something that's easier to toss around, or if you have a very limited budget and you're trying to get every possible dollar back in return for value, the Rig R5, what they're doing, and I like what Turtle Beach is doing with the Atlas 200, it's really representing such a positive shift in the budget space that you're not sacrificing a lot to get a very competent performing product. So with that being said, I hope you found this video helpful. I'd love to hear what you think about it. If you ended up getting one of these and you're watching this post purchase, I guess, for validation, shoot a comment below. Let me know what you think. Provide your honest feedback. Maybe you had a different experience. I'd love to see what people think. And if you loved it, share that too, because I think a lot of people are going to write off products like this because it's so cheap. You can set very low expectations. Historically, very cheap headsets don't perform great, but some new ones really are starting to. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see some future content. With that being said, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.